Think about every single group you have ever been part of. Your school had a principal, your job has a boss, your country has a president or a prime minister or a king, your family had parents, your sports team had a captain, even your friend group has that one person everyone kind of listens to. You have never once in your entire life been part of a group with no leader, not even close. And here's the thing that should genuinely stop you in your tracks. For most of human history, for hundreds of thousands of years, nobody had a leader either. Not because they were disorganized, not because they were primitive, but because they actively, deliberately, aggressively refused to let anyone be in charge. And the way they did it is one of the most fascinating things scientists have ever discovered about ancient human behavior. Let's go back. Picture a group of ancient humans, 15 to 50 people, moving together across open African grassland, hunting together, eating together, sleeping together, surviving together. Now picture the most physically powerful person in that group, the strongest, the fastest, the best hunter, the one everyone would logically follow if this were a movie. In a modern group, that person would probably be the leader. They would make the decisions, everyone else would fall in line. But in an ancient hunter-gatherer group, something completely different happened. The moment that person started acting like they were in charge, the moment they started taking more food, making decisions for everyone, telling people what to do, the rest of the group did something remarkable. They stopped them. Not with a vote, not with a meeting, not with a formal process of any kind. They just collectively refused to cooperate with that person until the behavior stopped. They shared information around them instead of through them. They excluded them from group decisions, they made jokes at their expense, they gave them less food, they made life uncomfortable enough that the dominant behavior simply became not worth it. Anthropologist Christopher Boehm at the University of Southern California spent decades studying hunter-gatherer societies on every inhabited continent. He called this reverse dominance hierarchy. The group itself becomes the leader, and any individual who tries to rise above the group gets pulled back down. Boehm found this pattern in virtually every documented hunter-gatherer society on Earth. The Hadza in Tanzania, the San people of Southern Africa, the Aboriginal Australians, the Inuit of the Arctic, different climates, different languages, different everything, same pattern, nobody leads, everyone decides together. And here's the part that blew scientists' minds when they first understood it. This was not accidental. It was not just what happened when nobody took charge. Ancient humans actively worked to maintain equality. They were suspicious of anyone who seemed to want power. They were constantly watching for signs that someone was trying to dominate. And when they saw it, they acted immediately and collectively to shut it down. Evolutionary biologist Sarah Brosnan, who has spent years studying fairness and cooperation in primates, found that the instinct to reject unfairness and dominance is so deeply wired into humans that even young children show it before they are old enough to be taught it. A 2-year-old who sees another child get more cookies will protest, not because they were taught to, because something very old in the human brain says that is not right. That feeling, that instinct that something is unfair when one person takes more than their share, that is not modern. That is ancient. That is hundreds of thousands of years of your ancestors keeping the group equal. So how did decisions actually get made? Because decisions had to be made. Where to move next, when to hunt, how to respond to a threat, who goes where. Life required constant decisions. The answer is one of the most human things you can imagine. They talked for hours, sometimes days, around fires at night when the work of surviving was done for the moment. Ancient humans sat together and talked through every significant decision until the whole group reached something close to agreement. Not a vote where the majority wins and the minority loses. A genuine consensus where everyone felt heard and everyone could live with the outcome. Anthropologist David Erdahl, who studied decision-making in hunter-gatherer societies, found that these conversations could go on for extraordinary lengths of time. Nobody was rushing to a conclusion. Nobody was pulling rank. The process itself, the talking, the listening, the working through, was considered as important as the decision, and it worked remarkably well. Hunter-gatherer groups maintained social harmony in conditions that would destroy a modern team in a week. 15 to 50 people living within 50 feet of each other every single day. No private space. No days off, no ability to go home and cool down, no HR department, no manager to complain to, just the group and the fire and the conversation that never really ended. They argued. Of course they argued. Ancient humans were as human as you are, but the arguments happened in the open, in front of everyone, and the group itself provided the pressure to resolve them. Nobody could just walk away from a conflict and ignore it. You were going to see that person again in about 10 minutes. So why did this change? Around 10 to 12,000 years ago, humans started farming. And farming changed everything about power in ways that nobody at the time could have predicted. When you are a hunter-gatherer, you own almost nothing. Everything you have, you carry. Your social status comes from what you contribute to the group, your skills, your knowledge, your willingness to share. You cannot accumulate more than you can carry. You cannot build wealth that your children inherit. Every generation starts roughly equal, but farming meant staying in one place. Staying meant building. Building meant owning. And owning meant that for the first time in human history, some people could have significantly more than others. And when some people have significantly more than others, someone has to protect it. Someone has to manage it. Someone has to make decisions about it. And just like that, leadership was born. Not out of necessity for survival, out of property. Archaeologist Timothy Earle at Northwestern University, who spent his career studying the emergence of leadership in ancient societies, found that the first true leaders, the first chiefs and kings, appeared not in the most dangerous or challenging environments, but in the most productive ones. Places where enough food could be grown to create a surplus, because a surplus is something worth controlling. The first leaders were not the bravest or the wisest or the strongest. They were the ones who figured out how to control the food. And once leadership existed, it was almost impossible to get rid of, because leaders controlled resources. And controlling resources meant you could reward loyalty and punish resistance. And rewarding loyalty and punishing resistance is how you stay in power. The system your ancient ancestors spent hundreds of thousands of years actively preventing became the dominant structure of human civilization in just a few thousand years. Here is what makes all of this relevant to your life right now. Every frustrating boss you have ever had. Every pointless meeting where one person talked and everyone else just waited for it to end. Every time you have watched someone less capable get promoted because they were better at playing politics. Every time a decision was made from the top down that made no sense to anyone actually doing the work. All of that is less than 12,000 years old. For 9 times as long before that, your ancestors sat in a circle and worked it out together. No boss, no hierarchy, no one person deciding for everyone else. Just people, talking, until they figured it out. And the remarkable thing is, it worked. For hundreds of thousands of years, it worked. The groups that maintained equality, that shot down anyone who tried to dominate, that made decisions by talking until everyone agreed, those were the groups that survived. That raised children, that passed their genes and their culture and their instincts all the way down to you. So the next time you are sitting in a meeting watching someone with a title make a bad decision that everyone else in the room can see is wrong, and nobody says anything, just remember. Your ancestors would have said something. They would have said quite a lot, actually, and they would have kept saying it until someone listened.